Let's see how this works.
You need to be in the middle.
It's still, I don't know. I pressed record. Oh, we go. Hello, everyone. And as usual, it's Friday. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. This is Steph Lee, the founder of Host Agency Reviews and the Friday 15. Obviously, having a slow morning this morning. If this is your first time tuning on into the Friday 15, welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. This is every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time. We answer your questions, and you can ask us your question that you have that's burning inside your heart by going to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 or following the link in these show notes. So we told you this last week if you were tuning in, but we've got back-to-back Lindsay Taylor from Travel Leaders 365. Hello, Lindsay.
Hello, Steph. I'm so happy to be back.
I feel like I should have like theme music when people are on back-to-back, or I should bring in a professional like voiceover person to announce it because it's like so exciting.
Everybody should have their like walk-on theme song.
Oh my
like
gosh.
The wrestlers.
Oh my gosh, I might have to think about that for future Friday 15s. I really like that idea because you can play music in here. Oh my gosh.
Streaming. What do you do?
This is so exciting. Okay, well, you know what else is exciting, everybody? Besides that, we've got great questions for you today. Just a quick announcement that we have on our events calendar. If you haven't checked out our events calendar, you can go to hostagencyreviews.com/events or follow the link in the comments. And it has probably 100, we just added a whole bunch more. So probably like 150 plus industry events to check out, including webinars. Next week, there's one coming up that's featured. It's with Whitney Schindler from The Hive, and she's doing how to curate a personalized selection of hotels for client proposals. So if she's got a couple other advisors on there that are self-described hotel nerds, which I think you are too, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really funny because I don't not like hotels, but I don't feel passion towards hotels.
I love a good hotel. There's some kind of artistry there that you just can't really embrace anywhere else. But it's so funny within my company. So my president loves aviation. He can talk about airlines and airplanes and private charter, all this stuff. My director of operations loves DMCs and ground handlers. And then I love the hotel side. So it's like between the three of us, we have an amazing travel agency.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's perfect. Well, let's see. Thank you to those of you who submitted questions. And I know there are some that are in the log. We will get to them soon. So please keep submitting them. We have gotten them. We just have a backlog. So our first question comes from Anonymous. They say, "Hi, Steph. I have a more specific question. I worked as a travel manager at my previous company. However, it was a created position and I used a combination of Concur, Expedia, hotels.com, National Car Rental, and all the other sites. So for those that don't know, Concur is something that corporate travel agencies will use. It's like an online booking tool where you can put in different permissions based on whatever the company you're working for wants for the different employees. All right, I love this position, but it all went away during COVID. Now I'd like to get back into everything, but everything I'm interested in requires some Sabre experience. I know it's easy and I know I could do it, but do you think it's worth taking the 60-hour course with the Travel Institute? Is there a better way to obtain this training? It could add a few lines on my resume, and I'm great with self-study. $149 for the course doesn't seem too high for getting some experience. What are your thoughts? Thanks for your time." That is a really great question. So not all host agencies have. So those that don't know, we mentioned Sabre in this question. That's the GDS, or the Global Distribution System. And not all agencies have it. But I know that, Lindsay, you have a big corporate side of things at your agency. So what are your thoughts on this?
It's a great question. And I definitely think that 60-hour course is a really great start. I do not think that you're going to find that it's going to be sufficient enough for actually working within the GDS. When I first started in the industry a bit ago, I learned native Sabre. That was how I learned it.
Can you explain native Sabre really quick so that people
So
that
Sabre is native. So there's a graphical Sabre that has like point and click. And then there's more of the command-based Sabre. So Sabre is the GDS, the Global Distribution System, and it is DOS-based at its heart. So like the command. So for instance, if I wanted to select a flight from Phoenix to New York on January 1st, I would have to type in 1 to sell. 1 means sell. 01 JAN. So 1st of January, PHX JFK. I usually fly American, so I do dash AA. Cross Lorraine, what the heck is that? It's a special little button on your keyboard that Sabre assigns it. Right? Y is like the most general economy class. So that's just to find a flight with those parameters. You don't have, now obviously there's the point and click side. So there are easier ways to do it. However, when you have to get into exchanges or if something goes wrong, and you have, I think that you'll find that 60 hours is going to be a great introduction. But it's not going to give you that functional knowledge that you need to actually be an advisor. Depending on the agency so it sounds like that person's looking to be hired as an employee. So perhaps that 60-hour initial introduction would be enough, and then the agency can take over and continue the training. I gave up. I don't use GDS anymore as of like whenever they rolled out with the basic economy fares, because it was too much for my little brain to handle. But it's one of those, it's a challenging platform. It's a great platform. It's very effective once you learn it, but it is learning an entirely new language, really.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things, I did look this up on the Travel Institute, and it seems like, okay. So one of my concerns, I would check in because I'm not even sure if this is still available, only because it says the technical requirements are the Windows operating system. It lists Windows 2000, Windows XP, Windows 7. So it tells me that might be kind of old. So I would check in to make sure that it's still available, first of all. But then we've got some other great options for you too. So we're gonna do a couple things. One, we'll pop in our article on what the GDS is for people that aren't familiar. It'll give you information. There's a little video so you can see someone working in the GDS, like so you can see what Lindsay was talking about on the non-GUI or the non-point and click side of it. And then we will link to our article on how to become a corporate travel agent because there's a couple great options for you. The good thing about it, if you're a corporate advisor and you're looking to get hired as an employee, a lot of them do require some experience in Sabre or another GDS system, but you can do some of the, like if the Travel Institute Sabre program actually is still going on, you could definitely do that. There's other ones. IATA has some that are available. But I will say it's really hard to find training on the GDS system unless it's in-house at the place that you're working. So some other options for you to think about. Check out that corporate travel agent article. But other options for you to think about are going to be working for the airlines. If you're working at their ticketing desks or in their call centers, you'll likely learn the GDS or something very similar that can transfer over. And they have training programs in place, obviously. So that's a great place to kind of check things out. And then I'm also another thing you could do is because you have experience and knowledge, even if you don't have GDS experience, your experience actually working in-house as a travel aid manager, even if you weren't using the GDS, you know Concur, so you know different things about the flights, and that's half the battle. So I would still apply for places and let them know, you're not fluent in Sabre, but you have all of this experience. And then another thing you can do, I'm going to pop in one of our travel agent chatter episodes with Molly Williams. She moves bands all around the world and their whole teams. And that's it's like a branch of corporate travel. And check it out. And if you can find someone like that might take you under their wing and say, hey, like, can I work for you for $12 an hour to learn the GDS and then stick with you? That's another option. So hopefully that helps you out, Anonymous. We have got a lot of anonymous people today. We've got another one, Lindsay. So this person is asking, hi, Steph, I have a diploma from Penn Foster. Penn Foster is an online university. And when I look at the CTA, and I believe that's Certified Travel Agent or Travel Associate, and that's from the Travel Institute. It's a certification they give. When I look at the CTA, I feel like I've already done all of the same lessons at Penn Foster. Is it better to have one of these certifications over the diploma I've already received? Are these just better recognized? Is the CTA better recognized and received by people in the industry and clients? It seems like these have more of an elevated status over my diploma. Is that the case? I love this question because it's kind of like the subtleties of, what do people in the industry actually think? So, Lindsay, let's pick your brain. What do you think about this question?
I have my CTC. So I love the program. I like to have that validation. My president has his CTC. We've got a few CTIEs, CTA. So all those CT, certified travel, whatever, consultant advice or associate, whatever the things. And then
Yeah, I have no idea what
industry
it's
executive, whatever the things are. I think they're great and they are recognizable within the industry. So people who, are, if it's in your email signature, if it's on your business card, people say, oh, okay, she invested or they, whatever, invested a little bit in that side of things. I don't think it matters to the consumer. I think that a lot of times the things that we get hung up on within the industry, like we were talking earlier about consortium membership, consumers don't typically know. They just want to make sure that they get the amenities, they get the benefits. They don't care if what consortium you're part of, as long as they get what they want. And it's kind of a similar thing with advisors. They don't really care what letters are after your name, as long as they get what they want from you in the services. But I do think I appreciate the investment when I'm looking at resumes. When they come in, if I'm looking at, partnering with somebody, I do see that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's an additional piece of validation for that person. I don't necessarily think it necessarily moves the needle as far as your functional knowledge goes. I do remember thinking as I was completing my CTC, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I already know a lot of this, but that I also felt that way in college. So I think that's just a part of proving that you understand things, is kind of doing the stuff that you've already done. I do think there's value to it. I don't necessarily think that people are listing their degree in their email signature or on their business card. So it might be a more visible way of proving that you've got some additional specialized knowledge.
Yeah, and anonymous, it will make you feel better to know that I have no certifications in the industry whatsoever. But we have a great article on travel agent certification options. So we'll talk about what certification is, because the truth is, in the industry, there isn't a one certification. Like it's not like if you're a real estate advisor or a real estate agent and you need to pass these exams to actually become one. We don't have that in the travel industry. And there are a plethora of certifications out there, which kind of adds to the confusion. But I think I agree with Lindsay. I would say high level. So Penn Foster, the diploma, I don't think is really recognized a whole ton in the industry. I know about it because we work with people that are just getting started and people ask us about it a lot. But yeah, the CTA is a lot more recognized within the industry. And the one thing I will say to you is, if you don't get the CTA, like if it's a lot of the same information, that's totally fine. There are some host agencies, if you're wanting to go with a host agency, that require you have some kind of a training before you come on. They might require you, like there's some hosts that require you to take the Travel Institute's CTA program, or like Trip Kit program or something like that. If that's the case, let them know you took the Penn Foster course, or you took HAR's 7-day setup course. And oftentimes they'll swap those out and you can use them interchangeably. So hope that helps, and welcome to the industry. Very excited to have you. And Lindsay, our last question for the day is another question about the GDS system from Anonymous, of course. We've got a lot of themes today. I refunded a non-refundable ticket by accident. Yikes. Oh, sorry. The agency paid it back, but now I'm on the hook for over $6,000. The airline does not reverse the transaction, so a traveler has a credit for that $6,000. Have you ever worked with this? I would like to find out how this is even legal. This is, sad. I'm so sorry you're having to learn this way. Unfortunately, it's the way a lot of people learn the GDS, and why people aren't allowed into the GDS very often. Lindsay, your agency and your ticketing desk does a lot of this stuff. So how do you work it if you refund a non-refundable ticket accidentally?
I don't believe we've ever done that, at least not in my experience, but expensive mistakes are very good learning opportunities, unfortunately, and we remember them forever and ever and ever because they hurt. I don't think that we've refunded a non-refundable ticket, but we have done other things that anger the airlines and result in all kinds of, so debit memos are a thing that airlines issue to agencies, to ticketing entities that violate different contracts. And I'm sure that that's why the agency was so quick to pay back the refunded amount, so that they didn't get. I'm guessing that there's some holes in that information. So this is just a big generalization on my part, but basically, when you purchase an air ticket, if you do it online, even it's most obvious to the consumer when you're booking it online, because you have to click the I agree, to all these terms and conditions. But even when you're issuing it as an advisor through GDS, basically once you're putting money on that ticket, you are agreeing to a contract, the contract with the airline, and so that's part of the rules and the fares and all this stuff. And so the second that that's ticketed, the second that goes through, you're bound to the contracts. The rules of the contract with the airline. And so if the airline says it's non-refundable, it's non-refundable, right? That's what the airline said that in the contract. They're not going to give you the money back. In the case of the credit, that's fantastic. I don't think that your client's probably going to pay you the $6,000 that they're getting from that credit. And that's just one of those unfortunate things. And they're not required to, because it was your mess up, right? Like that was on the advisor for doing that. And the outcome is just that the different form of payment, basically, to the client. So it's unfortunate. It sucks. It kind of relates back to that first question about using GDS. There's an awful lot of rules and regulations and policies, and I do not recommend people engage in it unless you are fully prepared and you're fully trained on reading through those fair rules, and you're making sure that you're abiding by them, and you're not going to refund the non-refundable ticket. Or there are a lot of other violations that you can do that make the airlines issue debit memos. I mean, there's just a ton of them.
There's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot. I don't do it. I let my air desk do everything for air, because I don't want to be liable for that. And this is what they do day in, day out. So yeah, unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do. It's very, very unfortunate. It's a very, very expensive mistake. And maybe, you could talk to the agency about kind of helping you. Perhaps you don't have to pay the full $6,000. Maybe they'll go in on it with you partially. I don't know what the best answer is, but it's going to be difficult to recoup that money.
Yeah. And Anonymous, first of all, so sorry, because that is just like a gut feeling, like kicked in the gut. It's just such an awful feeling. And we're going to put in link into an article we have on agency debit memos. Some of the data in it isn't as up to date, but it'll give you an idea of kind of the cost of it. Every agency that's in the GDS gets debit memos, and they can be hundreds of dollars. They can be $6,000. It really depends on what the airlines say that you did wrong. The problem with these debit memos is you really often don't have a choice. Like, you can have a conversation. If there's a mistake, they'll fix it. But usually it's something that you did wrong, and the airlines are very stern about debit memos and you paying them. And if you don't pay them, they do something they call pulling your plates, which means you can't ticket that airline anymore, which of course is the lifeblood of an agency. So they kind of hold you at, knife point there. So it is legal. And the reason that you don't really have a whole lot of leverage is because they can pull the plates otherwise. But like Lindsay said, Oops, go ahead.
No, the way that I try to explain it to advisors is that, so GDS, any GDS runs, the Airline Reporting Commission is called ARC, A-R-C, Airline Reporting Commission. And that's basically the entity to which all agencies who conduct travel with the airlines are bound to. When you engage with ARC, you're basically creating a bank account. And your bank account talks to the airline bank accounts. And so it's all these transactions that are happening. And those are outside of the agency's control as well. So when things are happening under ARC, like you were saying, Steph, they can prevent you from doing anything. So you're entering this relationship with ARC to all the other airlines that participate within ARC. the rules and regulations of each airline are vetted by ARC, are respected by ARC, are enforced by ARC. And so you have no wiggle room at that point. You're bound exactly to them because of that relationship. You're in the same bank basically at that point.
Yeah, and one of the things too is you could try talking with your host agency or the agency you're with, and seeing if you could do some payment plans. The airlines usually, I don't know how much your host agency will do any negotiatings with the airlines, but my parents, we had some fraud at our agency, like in the very beginning, like 6-digit fraud. And so I very much get what you're feeling. And I would say that like the airlines work with you a little bit on like if it's a really large amount, realizing, but because the money was refunded, I'm not sure you'd be able to get any actual leniency from the airlines. And the other thing is sometimes people will hire an attorney, a travel attorney to help with this, but I think it's going to probably cost you $6,000 to work with the airline or like the travel industry attorney. But we'll put a link into the travel industry attorney article as well in case you want to chat with anybody about that. But so sorry that this happened to you, but this is one of the reasons why host agencies are very careful about who they let into the GDS system, because obviously this can, make or break some agencies. Well, oh, you know what? I should have changed the order of the questions because that was kind of a sad one to lead on. Lindsay, cheer us up. Tell us how people can get a hold of you if they're interested in learning more about Travelators 365. No pressure.
Get a hold of me. My website is tl365.com. I'm Taylor at tl365.com if you want to email me. I think here I do have good news though. Are you ready for it? So about the airlines and stuff, there's been a lot of concern and a lot of wacky stuff with this whole NDC thing, this new distribution capability that's come out. So versus GDS. And so my good news is that now that NDC is coming out and it's becoming more and more widely accepted, there's going to come a day that GDS is a little bit less important to us. And so this will be less of a conversation point later on. So that's probably the sunny side of things.
Thank you, Lindsay, because I had nothing. So thank you to Lindsay for that, for coming on as a co-host and for that bright little spot. Upcoming for our next Friday 15th next week, July 19th, we have Travel Planners International is going to be on with Dave, the mysterious Dave, who has taken over for Jen Lee. We're finally going to be able to see him, everybody. And then July 26th, we have back-to-back again. We have Outside Agents with Chad Burt, and he is going to be back August 2nd, the following week. So I hope you can join us for those. And if you have questions for us, don't be shy. We love answering them, obviously. So you can go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15. And until next week, 12 p.m. Central Time, everybody, don't forget, we will see you soon and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, everyone. And thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Steph.